Today we're going to talk about the top 10 unconstitutional federal departments and programs costing you $500 billion. So one of the most important amendments in the Constitution is the 10th Amendment. It doesn't get nearly as much attention as, say, the First Amendment or the Second Amendment or the Fifth Amendment, but it's actually more critical today than when the Constitution was written in 1787. What it says: the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, or reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Why does this matter? So Washington doesn't believe in the 10th Amendment because DC, Congress, the President, and the Supreme Court, they act like their power is unlimited. But it's not. The Constitution grants very specific powers, few and enumerated powers, that the federal government has charge over, right? Taxes, trade, currency, intellectual property, war, immigration, post office, that's it. The main reason that DC is so dysfunctional is because it's way too big. It's taken on way too many unconstitutional responsibilities, and its enormous size has led to incompetence. Today we're launching the Shrink DC series over the next few weeks, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 unconstitutional federal programs and how eliminating them could save the US government and you about $500 billion per year. Hello, America, and welcome to the Shrink DC Save America channel. I'm Patrick Trepanier, author of American Restraint. Please comment, love your comments, like the show, subscribe, really helps get the word out. And today we're going to do a kind of a top 10 of the things our federal government isn't allowed to do, but they do it anyway. So here we go. Number 1, housing. The Department of Housing and Urban Development. The failure. DC does a terrible job managing housing. Just look at the terrible housing conditions in projects like in the city of Chicago. Or look at today's insane housing costs in most cities across the country. The solution? Abolish HUD and let states do the innovation on housing. Savings is about $65 billion for this department and about 9,000 employees. Number 2, education, the Department of Education. Luckily, we're making some progress on this one. Trump is trying to get rid of it. And the failure, since the DOE was established, test scores for American students have gotten worse, not better. Federal loan programs just gave colleges an excuse to way jack up their tuition rates. The solution? Abolish the DOE and just let education be handled where it should be, at the local school districts and at the states. Savings here is about $80 billion and 2,000 employees. Number 3, healthcare. Department of Health and Human Services. Look, here's the failure. The U.S. spends more per capita on healthcare than any other developed country in the world, and we've got some pretty bad health outcomes. Americans' health has gotten worse in many respects. Infant mortality, the life expectancy, obesity, you name it. And then you got massive fraud in Medicare and insurance. The solution is to abolish HHS. But here's where I disagree, kind of at a very high level philosophically, with many Republicans about healthcare. You see, I think healthcare is a human right. But I believe that states should be doing the innovation and figure out how to do a much more efficient job than the insurance companies, which are kind of a joke, and they only care about money. The savings here would be about a $100 billion budget and about 80,000 employees. Poverty programs like SNAP and welfare. Here's the failure. Since LBJ, President Johnson in the 60s declared war on poverty, DC has spent trillions with very little to show for it, very little improvement, generational poverty. The solution? Abolish federal poverty programs. But again, I disagree with many Republicans. State governments should play a role in alleviating poverty conditions. They just do it better than distant DC bureaucrats because they're much closer to the solution. And I do have some additional policy recommendations in my book, American Restraint. Okay, number 5, Social Security Administration. The success. Okay, here's where I break from the pattern of the first 4, where I just think we've got to get rid of those unconstitutional programs and departments. Social Security, should be in the Constitution. But people move around too much for this to be an effective state-by-state solution for retirement. And to give credit where credit is due, since Social Security has been implemented in the United States, we've seen a massive decrease in seniors' poverty levels. So I think this is a success. You can always tweak it a little bit, but the solution is probably add SSA to the Department of Treasury, and the savings, none. This is one we keep and I think constitutionalize. Okay, so number 6, energy, Department of Energy, the failure. It's not really even clear what the DOE does. We have some of the highest energy costs in the country, and I don't know how the Department of Energy helps this at all. Billions in the DOE are actually spent on military programs, like about half of their budget. The solution? Eliminate the DOE and let states innovate to bring down energy costs. The savings? About a $50 billion budget, and half of that goes to military programs anyway. Number 7, FBI, CIA, and NSA, the intelligence trifecta. The failure? While the FBI occasionally catches criminals, all 3 of these agencies are mostly corrupt and unaccountable across every administration, not just Republican or Democrat. The FBI is becoming part of the domestic police state. And the CIA and the NSA, all they do is travel around the world, causing trouble, causing foreign wars, endless forever wars that we just don't have the money for. And frankly, most of these aren't the United States business anyway. The solution? Abolish all 3. Savings? About a $100 billion budget and 80,000 employees. Okay, so what's next? 8, the Environmental Protection Agency. The failure? The EPA is the poster child for out-of-touch DC agencies that think a small puddle on an Idaho ranch is part of a river. Protecting the environment is important, but DC bureaucrats don't understand local conditions. The solution? Abolish the EPA and let states protect their own land. Savings? About a $10 billion budget and about 15,000 employees. Number 9, the Department of Agriculture, the failure. Just look at the growth of big ag, big food, and mega farms over the past 50 years. The DOA is another example of how out of touch and ineffectual DC bureaucracy can be. The solution? Get rid of the DOA. The savings? $25 billion budget, 80,000 employees. And number 10, just to note, this list is not exhaustive. There are more agencies and departments in the federal government that just need to go because, to reiterate, none of these are in the Constitution. Department of Labor's failure. What does this federal department do that states can't do? Unemployment insurance, job training, all of that can be done better locally at the state level. The solution? Eliminate the Department of Labor. The savings? $15 billion budget and 15,000 employees. Okay, so there you have it. Top 10 ways. And again, these are just 10. There's more. Total potential savings is about $500 billion annually and about 300,000 federal employees reduced. And the biggest benefit is restoring the balance of power between the federal government and the states. This channel is solutions oriented, and the solution to saving America is shrinking DC. So next week, we're going to dive deep on number 1 from the top 10 list, housing. Why is it so out of control in terms of pricing and availability in America today. And what does the federal government need to do to just get out of housing completely? They don't have any solutions on housing. All right, and just to close up, again, this channel is very, very big supporters of Convention of States movement. Shrinking DC is one of the 3 pillars of Convention of States, the Article 5 Convention, that 19 of 34 states have called for. We need to get term limits. We need to get a balanced budget amendment. We need to take DC power and shift it back to the states because most of the power in DC is not approved by the Constitution. And big news this week, a federal court ruled there was an unconstitutional way that some people in Kansas were trying to block Convention of States resolution from being passed. So we're making progress, and hopefully next year will be exciting as we try to get 15 more states so we can call an Article 5 convention and shrink DC in order to save America. So that's all we have today. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next week.